for me, it all goes back to the point that we're trying to take something that is a terribly complex job in teaching young children, teaching young minds and helping them grow, and we're trying to reduce it down to numbers, and that's the mistake. People just apply measurement like that.
At the end of our last episode, we were left asking ourselves, who is in charge of Tennessee's failing education system?
As our journalism team continued to reflect on this question, we quickly realized that merely pinpointing blame on specific individuals is nearly impossible without first examining the hierarchy system of education and funding.
We're going to break it all down for you. Let's start at the pinnacle of this complex system, the U.S. federal government, whose primary motivator for implementing standardized testing is its global education ranking.
In 1999, the U.S. found its education ranking on the global stage plummeting, with the International Math and Science Test placing the U.S. 28th in the world in these subject areas.
Major pressures to improve global rankings in turn led future President George H.W. Bush to run on a platform promoting more education accountability. Thus, on his third day in office, Bush implemented the No Child Left Behind program.
It's time to come together to get it done, so that we can truthfully say in America, no child will be left behind, not one single child.
The NCLB's initial goal was to ensure students perform at grade level each year, a concept that sounds good in theory but becomes complex upon further examination. To measure whether or not students are at grade level, a surplus of standardized tests were introduced, and states with students who scored poorly on these tests were punished with cuts to federal funding. While states who do not receive federal education funding do not have to comply with the mandated standardized tests, lower-ranking states like Tennessee, who rely heavily on the federal government to support education, are required to produce data on student performances via standardized tests.
In fact, Tennessee receives 40% of its education budget from the federal government. Thus, year after year, we continue to administer these tests to our students.
It's a great question, and it can be very confusing. The vast majority of funding the schools comes from federal funding, right? So the federal government brings the funds come to Tennessee, and then through our BEP formula, our basic education program formula, that's part of state law. That's what determines how much funding goes to what schools and why. And so that's a formula that's been in place that in Governor Apple's first term, I believe, was updated to address the needs. And then that's all the federal and state money and how that flows. And then the local, county and city governments also pay into education. And so that's
Hillary Knudsen, the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Tennessee Department of Education, oversees that schools across the state are meeting these federal standards.
And though the federal government requires students to take the standardized tests, the exact details and logistics are left to the discretion of individual state governments. Government officials like Knudsen are left to set testing standards for students, select a vendor for the tests, and make sure these districts administer the test.
Right, so we want to know not just how are students doing in Knox County, we want to know how are students doing in Knox County compared to Gibson County, compared to Lake County, and what are things that we need to improve on as a state, or what are certain things that individual districts need to work on too. And so it's our role to set up those guardrails, so to speak, and make sure that we're not just, of course, meeting federal law, but we're also meeting the needs of our students and teachers and taxpayers as we think about all those pieces.
While state officials monitor the success of individual students and districts, the district themselves are left with the responsibility of meeting the goals and administering the tests created at the state level.
The state sends the materials to us, and then we distribute out to schools and have a process on collecting those to make sure they're secure and things have been followed right. So we don't have a lot in the decision of the makeup of those at this stage of the game. We did early on when they were designing the test. We had people that served on committees with the state and that sort of thing. But at this point, the state kind of dictates a lot of that to us.
Beyond considering Tennessee education at the federal, state, and district level, there are additional key players within this education system we cannot go without discussing.
Problems that have troubled our state, such as the faulty standardized test that has failed Tennessee students year after year, can be accredited to decisions made by officials like Candace McQueen, whose role as commissioner involves overseeing the education department of the state.
And yes, McQueen would be easy to blame for the failures of Tennessee's standardized testing in past years. The problems we face are much bigger than merely a year or two of technical challenges during testing.
The real issue is the hierarchical system itself, in which the lure of federal funding traps state governments into setting unnecessary standards, all in an effort to score high on a pointless test administered at the district level.
And for what? The original purpose of these standardized tests was to increase the U.S. global ranking, and yet the same international math and science test that ranked the U.S. 28th globally in 1999 ranks us at 24th, only 4 spots higher as of 2016.
So ultimately, the question becomes, what can we do to fix this mess?
From project-based assessments to implementing 21st century communication systems, we break down the possible solutions to the failings of Tennessee education in our next episode.